Hey, how's it going? In this video, I'm going to show you how to solve an inverse function. All right, so we're going to do a little switcheroo here because normally when you put a number into a function, you get another number out, right? So what if we could figure out the function that allows us to go backwards? And that's what this video is all about. So a couple of tips to keep in mind. First is I want you to replace the function notation with y. All right, if you have a typical equation using function notation where you have f of x equals something or g of x equals something, replace y with that function notation. Next, I want you to switch the positions of x and y in the equation. Rewrite the equation so that x and y have switched positions. And then finally, solve for y. Resolve the function until you get something that looks like y equals the rest of the function. Okay? So that's all I have for you right now. Watch the steps that I do, and I'll see you after the video is over. Okay, this is part 2 of the inverse functions lesson, and instead of having f of x, I decided to make a different style of equation and also use a different letter. Sometimes textbooks are going to say f of x, they might say g of x, they might say h of x. So there's a lot of different possibilities, and I want you to get used to the pattern for the notation of these different equations. So right here, it says that I need to find the inverse of the g of x function. And here is my g of x function over here. Now, just like in one of the other problems that I did, I substituted y in place of f of x. I'm going to do the exact same thing here with g of x. And I'll just change it back once I'm done with the problem. All right, so that's how I'm going to start this. So that's the normal function. If I were going to write the inverse, what I do as my first step is I switch the x and the y like this. Okay, so this is the inverse that I'm about to work with. Okay, so my goal is to solve for y, and some people prefer to make this y prime in order to keep track of the fact that we're dealing with the inverse, but I know that I'm solving for the inverse because I wrote it down right here, and that helps me keep track. So now we just do a little bit of simplification. First move, subtract 3 from both sides. So now on this side I have x minus 3. This is equal to 4 over negative y minus 2. All right, my next move is to multiply both sides by negative y minus 2. And that way, these two pieces will cancel, and essentially this got moved over to the other side. So I have negative y minus 2, x minus 3 equals 4, and that's it, just 4. Because these two things got canceled in the previous move. All right, now I'm going to divide both sides by x minus 3. And by doing that, this goes away. And I just have negative y minus 2 on this side and 4 over x minus 3 on this side. Now, I want to get y by itself. So I'm going to get rid of the 2 by adding it to both sides. I'm left with negative y equals 4 over x minus 3 plus 2. And now here's the final move where I take negative 1 times both sides. Now, if I just left the negative 1 here, it would only affect the 2. I'm not just multiplying by the 2. I'm actually multiplying this entire side by negative 1. So this whole side is getting multiplied by negative 1, just like this whole side is getting multiplied by negative 1 to cancel the negative that's in front of the y. So let me move that up here so you can see. So here I had negative y before. Now I'm multiplying both sides by negative 1 because I want this negative sign to go away. and I know that a negative times a negative makes a positive. I don't want to just multiply -1 times 2. I want to apply -1 times the whole side. All right, so here it is, and that would make this -4 over x minus 3 plus -2. All right, so that way I've applied the negative to both of these things. Now, I'm going to replace the y with the original notation, but since I was finding the inverse, right, I want to make sure I use my inverse notation. And if I want to be super cool, I can just write -2 instead of writing plus -2. So this, my friends, is the final answer right there. So we followed a lot of steps in order to make that happen. So if there's anything that you saw that was a little confusing or you need to go back and review it, please do so. And I won't be offended, of course, because all you have to do is hit the rewind button. And if you need more practice, watch another video, get more coaching, and I will see you next time. Okay, you just got done watching how to figure out an inverse. So again, keep in mind that y is the same as f of x. So you can use a little replacement to make it visually easier for you to see this function. Then what you do is you switch the values of x and y. You switch the positions. So that way you rearrange it just a little bit. And then once you've rearranged the function, then what you do is you resolve y. You follow all the different steps to get x on one side, y on the other side, but you want to end up with something that has y equals blah, whatever the result was. And then if you want to make it nice and neat at the very end, you can use function notation with a -1 to symbolize the fact that you found the inverse of that function. All right, that's all I have for now. Watch another video if you need another example, and I'll see you next time.